So hey animal adventurers, welcome to the Suffolk Owl Sanctuary. This is where I work, and today we're going to be meeting some of our baby birds, but specifically some of our rescued baby birds. Let me tell you a little bit more. We've been very busy in 2023 with our raptor hospital. We've had lots and lots of baby birds coming in, as well as other injured birds of prey. So when they come into us, we have a bit of a plan and a protocol to try and get them healed and out back to the wild as quickly as we can. Welcome to our raptor hospital. I'll give you a very quick tour. So we've got some incubators, brooders, these actually for keeping baby birds warm. We then have our medication room here, and of course the washing machine. Right now we are getting through an awful lot of towels. And then when we have injured birds coming in, once they've seen the vet, they tend to come in here, and these are our isolation enclosures. So you have a little barn owl in there at the moment. And once they have maybe progressed a little bit, they'll go into one of these larger aviaries. And this is designed so they can actually start moving around a little bit more. And then outside the door, we have even bigger aviaries in this corridor, currently with a number of birds in. They have a bit more space so they can fly around and start building up their muscles and fitness ready for release. The first birds we're going to introduce you to are our Kestrels. They had a bit of a sad story, not a very good start to life. Their nest was actually destroyed, and we rescued them with a couple of other birds who you'll meet later. But they're doing really well now. We actually had to hand feed them for the first couple of weeks of their life, then they started feeding themselves. Now we've actually got a couple more Kestrels that have joined them, and we're very hopeful that long term they're going to have a very successful release. Hi. Next are our little owls. These are the smallest owl species that we have here in the UK. This year we actually had a lot of little owl babies. We've actually had about 12 in total. And they're probably the angriest owls that you'll ever meet. We don't really like having to do anything with these guys. They normally do tend to draw blood. So yes, very small but very feisty owls. So again, we are trying to rehabilitate them all together. So we're actually splitting them into two groups of 6, and they will be going out to sort of release pens quite soon. Little owls grow up very quickly, so in about 6 weeks they're fully grown and just as feisty when they're adults. Then we have our barn owls, and we've actually had 4 barn owls in total. The first 2 didn't have a very good start to life. Their nest box actually collapsed, so they had a bit of a bump, and thankfully were unharmed. And a very kind person brought them into us, and we've been hand rearing them for a very short period. They started feeding for themselves fairly quickly, and that's what we always want to do. We want them to get to feed for themselves, and then we want to try and be as hands-off as we possibly can. So they're doing incredibly well, and the slightly older barn owls, well, they're pretty grumpy, which is standard for barn owls. They're also doing really well, so hopefully these 4 will actually be released together, and we will maybe follow their story a little bit longer term. We've also had quite a few baby tawny owls in. They're a little bit older, and they've actually gone out to one of our hack pens, and this is an aviary that gets built in the woods on some very kind landowners' land. And then it's quite a slow release, so they get fed for a period of a few weeks. We then open the hatch window and they have access to the outside world, but they do continue to get fed until they decide that they don't need the food anymore. So they will hopefully start learning how to hunt and then make their way off into the wild. Last but not least are our baby jackdaws. They actually came in with our 2 Kestrels. So of course the nest was destroyed, which is very sad, but we managed to save them, and even though they were possibly the ugliest babies we've ever seen, they had no feathers, they were like little pink blobs, but they actually fed really well. We've managed to get them to almost adult size now. The only problem with the jackdaws is that they've been imprinted, they've been hand reared by us. We didn't really have any other choice. So they are a little bit overly friendly and they pretty much follow us everywhere. So it's potentially unlikely that we are going to be able to release them back into the wild. That would always be our long-term plan, but if they're unable to be released, they will stay with us here at the sanctuary, and as you can see, they do like to come out and play around with us and the public. What are you doing?
No, they weren't even that interested.
Stop. Stop. You are a monster. You guys enjoying a little bit of sunshine, aren't you? Yeah. Bit of evening sunshine. You coming? Come on then. So what should you do if you find a baby owl or bird of prey? Well, it depends on the situation. We would always recommend trying to get them back to their parents as quickly as possible. So if they're on the ground, try and get them up into a tree as long as it's safe, but certainly off the ground, away from predators. The parents will normally be quite close by and they will still be feeding that baby for the coming weeks. So if you can get them into a safe location, Mum and Dad will normally come back to feed them. If they're not in a safe location, if they're maybe next to a road or potentially somewhere where a predator could get to them, then it may be worth bringing them into a sanctuary like ours. And we do our very best to try and get them back to the wild. We'll often pair them up, as you've seen, with others of their own species, and that way we can give them the best chance of survival. Well, I hope you enjoyed meeting our baby birds today. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Oh, can you stop biting my ears, please? Oh, it's cool. You got both sides.